Hello, hello. Today on White Chair Talk, we are going to talk about something very interesting. We're going to talk about men and their emotions because they have emotions too. Misconception that men don't have emotions. They absolutely do. But today we're going to talk about creating a space for understanding the him in your life, whether it be a father, whether it be a spouse, a sibling. We're going to talk about creating a space to understanding him. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about it. Stick with me, and we're going to talk about some interesting stuff. Okay, so again, we're going to talk about men and their emotions. They have emotions too. Big misconception that a lot of times we think, oh, men, because they don't really express them, we think they don't have them, but they absolutely do have emotions. And I was posed with a few questions. I got some notes today, so plus this will serve as a fan as well because sometimes you get hot and you need a fan. Okay. Oh, also got some new glasses. Check them out. They're so cute. Love them. My husband got them for our anniversary. Let's see if you can see them. Yes, they're so cute. They're so cute. And I love them. He's like, you know what? You're on White Chair Talk. You wear black glasses. You need some new ones. So he got me some new ones. I love it. Okay. So back to what we're saying, creating space to understand him. So important. So I was posed with a few questions about this topic. I'm going to read it. The first question is, why do we assume men don't need to be understood emotionally? Number 2, how do social norms reward women for expressing emotion, but discourage men from doing the same? Those questions were so important. I thought, oh yeah, we got to talk about those 2 questions. I think we're going to talk about the social norms. I believe it says, how do social norms reward women? I want to start with what does that come from in the beginning? Just social norms about women and social norms about men. Because number 1, women have always been able to explore their emotions. From day 1, we come out, no one ever gets on us about crying or being sad about something and expressing it and let us know how you feel. It's always been kind of a safe space for women to express emotions of sadness or happy or joy or anger. It's always been kind of a safe space. People like, oh, that's just her and her emotions. And it pretty much stops there. But when you think about men have been told since young boys, toddlers even, stop crying, you're acting like a girl, or stop crying, you look like a baby, or other words they may say. So from very early on, men have been told those emotions can't come out. Don't show them. You got to be tough. You got to be strong, and just don't even express them at all. So, and it seemed probably back in the day, it probably seemed like it was a good thing. But like I said, where did those things come from? And they've just been instilled from early on. So you think about women, think about the damsel in distress, because I want to talk about the men, but I want to talk about kind of the root issue of where these things came from. Now, the term damsel in distress probably came from like medieval times when, it was like okay to use that. And damsel in distress meant like a woman that just needed, she couldn't do for herself. She needed the help of a man, the crying and the whimpering and help me type of persona. And then later on, it probably went into English literature where, it went into poems or short stories. And then now today, like the 20th century, I know in the 21st century, but the 20th century started early on with the movies, the silent movies, and the damsel in distress, the passive woman that, she had to have the man, the heroic man, help her, and that's the only way she could make it. I mean, or the woman at the end of the movie she got the man and sweep her off her feet, the knight in shining armor. She got, the man, and he helped and saved the day. That came from just societal norms. And from that moment, that kind of cemented women's the idea of what women are in men's heads or just society. It kind of cemented that thought of a woman. So it kind of put us in a box, the damsel in distress, put us in a box, the passiveness. And certainly today, women are trying to break out of that today. You see, even there are more women in the world today, but you see more men in like power positions. So that lets you know where that damsel in distress kind of idea came from. But on the same note, men, they have that same thing. They were told to be strong, you don't cry, ironclad, you think of men and they're like, you think of hero, you think of, like that, all the superheroes or men. You think of like just the strong sturdiness of them, and they'll fix problems, and they don't really talk about it. They just fix problems. They see a situation, they just fix it. I found a picture I thought was very interesting about men, and you probably can't really see that. I printed it out, but of course I don't have it. It's a picture, and this picture says mental images of men, society's unspoken expectation. The protector, the stoic. The stoic is never cry, never feel, just deal. The warrior, dominant, win, be first, like the competitiveness. Or the jokester. The jokester is the one who has emotions, got a lot of situations going on, but they're fun and reckless. And that kind of is it masks how they really feel. Like I said, the fixer, the spiritual leader. When society thinks of, when you say man, that's the type of things that they think about. The heroic person, the stoic, the protector, the warrior, the competitor, all those things kind of fit in the category of men. And in the mindset of women was the damsel in distress, which, like I said, you will watch TV shows, commercials, movies, you will see that we're really trying to move out of that, a lot out of that mindset. But it really was cemented in society for a very long time. So that, and I think that that's kind of the basic level. When you think about men, the cultural message is a real man is a provider. You'll hear those things, provider, the protector. And some of those things actually, yes, are true. But I just want to say sometimes that sends a message. It kind of sends a message that's, like I said, cemented in our heads. Like, women are strong. Women can do a lot of things. It doesn't necessarily mean that because we're a damsel in distress that we can't do anything without the help of male. It does not necessarily mean that. And just like the same token, it doesn't mean that just because a man is a strong person, he's a protector, he looks masculine and muscles on the outside, doesn't mean on the inside is not fragile. On the inside, those same emotions that God gave to me are the same emotions that God gave to a man. Same ones. Now, I believe that, when they say women are more emotional. Okay, women are more emotional. Okay, when you think about that, I don't think it's that we're more emotional so much as I believe that because we have been allotted to cultivate the emotions that we have had. We got these emotions that God gave us. He never meant to have the emotions govern our lives, okay? But they are there and they serve a purpose, but not to just go off the deep end with the emotional, no. But because we've been allowed to express our emotions, now you look at it, we're very cultivated in our emotions. We've been allowed to express them. We've been allowed to share them. We've been allowed to just talk to people about how we feel and what we feel like and what that meant to me and how what you did made that make me feel. We've been allowed to do that. We've been allowed to do it in a way that now, as you grow up and as you get older and you are an adult and you become a seasoned woman, you are your emotions, where you can go, and you're very cultivated in it. You're very familiar with your emotions, whereas men have not been given that same space. So therefore, it seems like we're just so much more emotional. Yes, God gave us nurturing. Okay, we have that. But I'm talking about the emotion. We express it and we know how to express it good and we know how to tell you most of the time. Whereas men it's not been that safe space for him. So that's why I said we want to talk about creating a space or creating space to understand him, the him in your life that means something to you, the him in your life that, has a strong effect on you. So if we just stop a moment and just think about that, like I said, they weren't able to really have a space to express those emotions. They've been taught to shut it up, don't you cry, keep it inside. And then who are they going to go to talk to? Even if they had a best friend, who are they going to go to tell those deep emotional thoughts to that they feel? Most of the time, men won't do it. I mean, it's just now getting around to where mental health, men will go see a mental health provider to talk about that. But it's been a tough road for them because the space is not available. The space is not open for them to do that. So I really want to bring this to the forefront of our minds and just think about it for a moment. I know, I'll just say in my marriage, coming off of 32-year anniversary last week, I'm just getting now to the point where I'm really fully understanding that myself. Being married at 19, 20 years old, I was full of emotion, full of, oh, I need you to love me. I need to know that you love me. Tell me that you love me. Tell me that I'm beautiful. Ask me about my day, how, and because women, you ask us about our day, we can tell you in full detail about how the day went. Total different experience if you ask a man how his day went. But for us, because we're cultivated in our emotions, we can tell you in detail about the day. I remember seeing an episode of Martin when Gina she lost her job, and she lost her job, and Martin came home and he asked her, or she asked him, how was your day? Or he asked her, how was your day? And she wanted to know how his day was, but he just said, oh, I did this, and it was, came home and, went to work, did this, and I came home. She was like, no, you got into the car. She wanted it detailed. Why? Because sometimes that's just how we think. Now, of course, that was a sitcom, but that is so true. I've heard other men say this. Women go into detail. But I believe strongly that it's because we're cultivated in our emotions. We know how we feel. We analyze how we think. We know exactly those things. It's been okay to do so. So therefore, we can go into deep depth about those things. If you ask us a question, we can probably go take a deep dive into those answers. So, but like I said, for men, they don't have the space. So what are they going to do? Who do they go to? And it's not just asking like, oh, well, how was your day? Just to be asking, how was your day? So that as soon as they tell you, I had a good day, or this happened at work today. And then you kind of brush that off and then go right into, well, my day was like this. And then just go. Because that can really happen. Again, I think it's because we don't realize that men have those type of emotions, or there's a need for those type of emotions. I think that's what the first question was, is why do we assume that men don't need to be understood emotionally? I think it's because of the masculinity, they look strong on the outside, and that could be that's just the exterior. That's not what's going on in the inside. They look strong on the outside, and you think, oh, and because they never express emotion, because you never seen them cry, because, they just, you don't see them deal with things emotionally, you just see them fix the problem. We think sometimes they don't really need support emotionally. And that could be further from the truth. They absolutely do. And in some cases, I believe men are just as complex or as more complex than women. And that's probably passé. You shouldn't say that. But yes, because they have not been able to express it openly. Because as soon as you see a man cry, then you'll say, oh, it's okay. You can cry, express yourself. But as soon as you see a man cry, another man is going to probably call him, oh, you weak, or he's going to get laughed at. And no man wants to experience that. So why not create a space to understand him, the him in your life, the him that's your brother, the him that's your father, the him that's your husband. Create a space, a safe space to understanding him. So when you ask, how was your day? It's actually intentional. It's purposeful. It's not you asking him just so that he can hurry up and say that, and then you can get your point across how your day was. It's really going in. And it doesn't happen overnight. To create a safe place for your him to express himself, that takes time. That is not an overnight situation. So I think the societal image is like a basic level of what we think when we think of men. It's a basic level, like I said, the macho, the masculine, the muscles, the hard exterior, the iron heart. He doesn't cry about anything. He feels nothing, no emotion. And probably what has helped develop that is, something happened to him. So because if something emotionally hurtful happened to him, emotional trauma happened to him, who is he going to tell? Who is he going to share that with? His boys? I don't think so. So what happens to that emotion? Does it go off and vaporize in the air? No. That emotion, that trauma, that situation gets taken and it gets buried deep, deep, deep. They put it in a box and they build a wall around it and nobody's ever going to get to that box. It's just like, you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it. So like I said, that's the basic level. But then you got to think about, okay, our image of what we think of a man is, then you got to think about what image personally with you has happened. Who painted the image of a man personally in your life? Because everybody has their image of what they think of a man or what a man should be. Everyone has their own. If I ask different women, what does a man mean to you? Or what's the image of a man in your mind? They'll probably have several different stories. Why? Based off their experiences. So the basic level is what societal norms, and then the experiences or the more personal level of the image of a man. Who painted that picture of the image of a man in your life? Who painted that image? What happened? What created in your life? What was created in your life to paint this picture, whether it's a good picture or whether it's a distorted picture of what a man is? It could be like some women have like a hatred for men, because they were done wrong or something happened to them or they felt like their life should have gone this way and that didn't happen. So now your image of this man in your life is distorted. It's not like what you expected, the expectation in your mind, what you thought a man should be this. Because that's what happened with me. I thought, like I said, in marriage, you thought the man was supposed to be this. And my husband was all that and then some. But because I did not create that safe space for him to figure out who he was, we were so young. I didn't know. I didn't know. And I didn't create that space. I didn't even create the space for myself, really. But I definitely laid it on him thick because of the social norms, things that you're saying. Men are supposed to be doing this. You're supposed to be the spiritual leader of the home. You're supposed to listen. We can't come in judgmental. You have to create a space for your him to want to move towards you in that healthy way, that emotional healthy way. There were times when I thought, when God told me, hey, I wanted my husband to go to church with me when we were younger. I thought, my dad always went to church. You go to church. And he was not raised in the church. So, and I knew that, but I just thought it was like, okay, when we got married, it was just like understood. This is what you was going to do. And so one day God shared with me, he said, hey, you're getting in my way. You're getting in my way of how I would want to lead and guide him by you're adding your 2 cents to the story. And he says, I don't need you to do that. You're adding what you think your norm, what you've grown up knowing is right and what you should tell him to do. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. God, he says, let me paint that picture because you're messing it up. You're distorting the image. And that could cause resentment. It could cause all kinds of things. So God was like, let me do it. Let me do it. And I backed away. Thank God I did that. Thank God I listened because, man, God has allowed other men in his life to come and shape and mold and to what God was wanting him to be. I mean, he was already a leader and just already, but God wanted to shape him in the way he wanted to shape him, not because of what I thought. So, and what I'm saying, and the same situation could be like that in your life for the man that the him that Allow God to shape the him that let that space be open. Like I said, it's got to be an intentional place because it takes time. It's a place of safety. It's not something that you can just say, okay, so how was your day? What did you do today? No, it takes some creativity. It takes creativity. And like I said, it takes time. So just remember, who painted the picture in your life doesn't mean it's the picture that was painted for you was the right picture. The picture that was painted for you was not the right picture. God always has something new for us. God always has something different He wants us to see. Even as I grow spiritually, I don't just settle with that every day. I want to continue to grow. If I learn something this day, I want to continue to grow in the next thing. So I allow God to create a space for me so that I can create space for the Him in my life. Another situation, let's get to the next question. Okay, so if we think about it, how do women get rewarded for expressing themselves? Women get rewarded for expressing themselves just because it's like okay to do that. It's just okay to do it. We give a pat on the back and say it's okay. Men are not given that same opportunity. And so that's what I want to talk about. I just want you to know that in the man in your life, the him in your life, know to create a space for him. I just want to end by saying this, a space for him that's like a healthy space. Because I think when you create a healthy space, it's like a building block for a healthy relationship. And we've got to be open to that and thinking that, man, it's not just for you to put your norms on the him in your life. No, we've got to remember, just because they look on the outside strong and they look like they can do anything. I've heard men say, even about their own fathers, that, man, I remember growing up, my dad was strong. My dad could do anything. My dad was a hero. But now, and they see him get older and they see him get feeble. And it's like, that was a painted picture in their head, what they had for what the social norms gave them, that the strong. Women are strong too, but because fathers, it's different with fathers. It's different with men. They just seem to be, because of that social norm, have that strength. And, you look at them like strong and like they're unbreakable, like, a Superman. But you've got to allow them that space, because if you don't allow the space to happen, it can become like an emotional isolation. They can be emotionally detached because they're rooted. It's basically turning into like a hard core, a callus in their heart or in their emotion, because they have not been able to express it. So when are they going to be able to express it? Only behind the chair of a therapist? Or can we create a safe space at home, or a safe place in your relationship where they can rest in knowing that, hey, I can share this bit of information with you a little bit deeper than, oh, work was good or that happened to me at work. They can go a little bit deeper. Why? Because we have created a space to understand them. We have created a space to make it feel safe for a man to express himself. Maybe he won't tell you everything, and that's okay. But you don't want the emotional isolation. You want him to be healthy, and you want you to be healthy, and you want, at the end of the day, to have a healthy building relationship. And I believe that is a good start to building a healthy relationship. It's like a building block to it. So that's all I have today to talk. I just wanted to throw that out there and just remind you to take that time, take that moment to be creative about sharing with him in your life a safe place for him to come and to share and to build on your relationship. I think that it makes a healthy, stronger relationships for you to do that. And you just can't go wrong creating a safe space emotionally for the him in your life to come in and share, and you guys build and grow together. That's all I have today for White Chair Talk. If you have any comments, please comment, please like, please share, please subscribe to the channel. I would be much appreciated. And if you have information on more content you want to share, please let me know. All right. Until then, bye and have a good day. Be the best version of yourself that you can be every day.